Picture this. It's past midnight. The kitchen light is harsh and honest. A message sits unread. A conversation hangs open. Someone you trusted hurt you, then looked you in the eye as if nothing happened. Your chest tightens. Your mind warps. Am I making this up? In these first 10 seconds, hold one quiet truth when reality fractures the darkness. In people, theirs and ours starts to speak. Not to condemn, but to ask us to look at the mask we've worn too long. Notice the small tells. She slips off her wedding ring and sets it on the kitchen table. Her Slack dot turns red. Tiny details, but they speak volumes. Not random. Signals from the unconscious, from the shadow, asking to be seen. So let me ask you, in your story, what are you protecting? A perfect image or a heart that's begging to be heard? I'm not here to tell you to forgive tonight. I'm not here to tell you to leave. I'm here to hand you a map so you know where you're standing and what's blocking the road you need to walk. Shall we begin? In Jung's language, that mask is the persona, the performance of I'm fine, I'm right, I'm kind. We offer the world. What's pushed into the basement is the shadow. Our uncomfortable emotions, shame, hunger, anger, our tenderness, and unused strength. In conflict, the psyche often compensates what we refuse to see in ourselves, shows up on the face across from us. That's projection. But don't flatten it into, they're bad, I'm good. Jung reminds us complexes run like autonomous circuits, get touched, and they fire. The silence, the denial, even though you're too sensitive, might not be a conspiracy so much as a reflex to protect a self-image. One side clamps down to keep the mask intact. The other bleeds wanting truth named aloud. So what can we do besides replay the same unwinnable fight? This video isn't about helping you win against anyone. It's about helping you return to a steadier center. We'll move through 3 subtle practical shifts. Anchor reality with descriptive language, not spin. Name the fact, the impact, and the need. This stops you from dissolving into doubt and gaslighting yourself. Spot two-way projection. Which qualities in them ignite your anger, and what part of you do they touch? Taking back projection isn't blaming the injured. It's returning each person's share to where it belongs. Active imagination. A symbolic inner dialogue that gives the shadow a seat at the table. What are you guarding? What must I learn? So I stop repeating this. Give the shadow words, and it won't have to scream through behavior. Maybe you're here because of a specific wound credit stolen in a meeting, a family member's silence when you needed them, a joke that cut like a blade at dinner. I see you there caught between craving respect and fearing the bond will break. That longing is deeply human. You want clarity. But clarity doesn't always arrive as their apology. Often it arrives when you stand clean in your own truth, with boundaries and a steady kindness for both sides. We won't rip anyone apart, and we won't sugarcoat. We'll read Jung's map like a sailor, sounding depth from persona to shadow, from complexes to the self in everyday language you can use at your desk in your living room on the drive home. Before we go deeper, breathe in, slowly exhale, 1 count longer. Remember, this is education, not diagnosis. If your story involves abuse, your safety comes first. If you're ready, we'll step into what comes next. Why denial plays like a weapon. Why apologies can be so hard, and how they can decide the level of calm in your own life. Now imagine this. At work, a woman says nothing in meetings. At home, she laughs too hard at things that aren't funny. Everywhere she carries the same ache, the need to belong, even if it costs her herself. When a complex flips the switch, why they deny it ever happened. If you're an American viewer, you might be used to fast closure. Who's right, what to do next? Jung counsels 1 slower beat rate, conflict as mail from the unconscious. Today's letter might say, it's time to stop living only by the persona of the agreeable one and learn to say no. Or it's time to separate facts from interpretation. If you recognize yourself, here, give your heart a small sign, hand on chest, exhale longer than you inhale. Community Q, drop 1 word in the comments, anchored. It means today you tied your boat to a sturdier post. One more thing, an invitation to a circle. We're building a place to practice retrieving projections, to talk about unfair meetings, tight-throated dinners, and the emails that need cleaner language. Share 1 short story. What recent situation left you feeling denied, and how did you anchor reality? You won't just help someone else, you'll also tell your shadow. I see you now. Next up, we'll explore a quiet but potent tactic. Silence, how the lack of response can become a weapon that shakes you off your own reality. We'll look at it through the lens of power and dependence, and you'll get specific phrases to keep silence from running the show. Keep going. The light in this familiar room is about to change, and you'll know how to reset the switch. Return to that exact moment. The room hasn't changed, the light's the same, but something in you has cracked. You speak the truth, hoping for a nod, a simple, "I was wrong." Instead, you get a shrug. You're too sensitive, and then silence like a curtain. On the surface, it looks like they're denying you. Underneath, in Jung's language, an unconscious ecosystem is moving. The persona scrambles to keep the mask intact. The shadow gasps for air, and a complex and autonomous emotional knot has just been touched and flips the switch. When the ego feels threatened, the psyche compensates. What we can't stand in ourselves quickly appears on someone else's face. That's projection, not a master plan, often just a reflex to preserve the image, "I'm the good, right, or in control one." Meet Maya, a sales rep in Boston. In the meeting, a colleague uses her idea as a strategy example and doesn't credit her. Afterward, Maya asks for acknowledgement. He smirks. "I thought it came from the team." Her pulse spikes, chest tightens, memories race. Did he really forget, or does he not want to remember? Jung would flag this as a trap question. Once a complex is activated, we slide into defense without noticing. Memory gets tinted, justification outruns remorse. Persona rushes on stage. "I'm not the kind of person who would do that. In many moments, I don't remember," isn't calculated deceit. It's a psychic life jacket thrown on to avoid drowning in shame. The crucial move is to see the two-way motion. Maybe they're projecting their guilt, ambition, or inferiority onto you to avoid carrying it. But maybe you and your pain are also projecting an old story onto a new-faced childhood fear of being left, the long history of being dismissed. Jung doesn't invite us to be judge and jury. He invites us to watch the dance of two shadows. When one side denies, the other side longs for justice so fiercely that anger mixes with truth, and projection meets projection. The conflict explodes and nobody truly gets seen. So how do you stop being a hostage to this circuitry? Step 1, anchor mythity. Drop the labels and use descriptive language. Not, "You disrespected me," but fact. In the 10:30 a.m. meeting, you said, "This is the idea I proposed last week." Impact: I felt erased. I need clear credit. Request: please name me in the follow-up email. Describe event. Impact: need concrete. Mask. This calms the persona because it doesn't attack identity. It shines a clean light on behavior. Inside yourself, write 3 short columns. 1, what happened? How my body reacted. The story I'm telling myself. The space between 2 and 3 is where the shadow wants to be heard. The body often tells the truth before the mind can spin it. Step 2, retrieve projection, the most delicate work. Ask honestly, which quality in them sets me on fire? Greed, coldness, hunger for recognition. Where's the faint trace of that in me? Retrieving projection isn't self-blame. It's returning each share to its rightful owner. When I admit my own hunger for acknowledgement, I don't have to smother it with moralizing, and I stop demanding the other person feed it at any cost. The right to be credited is still right, but it's no longer the only life raft for my ego. Step 3, symbolic dialogue, active imagination made simple. Close your eyes for 1 minute. Picture their mask keeper sitting across from you. Ask, what are you protecting? To you might hear, "I'm terrified of being the bad guy," or "I'm guarding an old shame from being yelled at in class." Now invite your shadow to sit. What does my anger want to say? When these inner characters get a chair, they don't have to shove each other on the outer stage. Many people are surprised a brief inner dialogue can lower the physiological wave and open a calmer vocabulary for the real conversation. And boundaries. A boundary isn't a brick wall, it's a doorway with a handle. I'm willing to discuss this when we both want to listen. If you choose to deny it, I'll move the issue to a group email so the record is clear. No rage, no pleading, just moving the scene from the emotional fog to a structured frame. And if you're living with chronic psychological abuse, remember your safety outranks every analysis. Leaving isn't a failure of love. Sometimes it's your first loyalty to the self. When silence becomes a weapon, raiding the unconscious, invisible letter. In the past 48 hours, I haven't received a response about A. It feels suspended for me. I need a time frame to move forward. I'm not guessing motives. I'm noting silence after I shared event. Impact. Are you open to a 15-minute slot to clarify? If you need time to regulate, I respect that. Please confirm a window to reply so we both have ease. Pattern interrupt, state the event, avoid mind reading, propose a deadline. Step 2. A rupture. Repair a track with the clock. Unbounded silence turns a rupture into a breakdown. Give repair a rail. Set a marker, but I suggest a 15-minute call before Friday 5 p.m. Use the frame event, impact, need, specific request. Safe threshold. If silence continues after the marker, change the channel group. Email written recap so the record is clear. This isn't cold or mechanical. Structure is what lets care keep moving. Love wilts without rails. Step 3, the silence matrix. Choose your response. Observe 24-72 hours and sort. You've said everything you can say. The room is still, but the air has changed. No reply, no nod, just silence. Oddly, it's the silence that knocks you off balance. The brain fills blanks. The heart stages a scene. The body tightens like a wire. In Jung's terms, this is a compensation when outer reality goes quiet. The inner world speaks loudly. Without an anchor to reality, the gap becomes a funhouse mirror that enlarges old fears, abandonment, dismissal being replaced. Regulating. They say I need time and return when promised. Continue repair. Avoidant, delay, deflect, minimize. Hold the frame and repeat the specific ask. Strategic silent, when you set a boundary. Responsive only when you back down. Upgrade the boundary, official channel, less contact, or end the arrangement. Remember, you're not obligated to play a game where the rules are make you doubt yourself. Step 4, 60-second body reset. Unhook before you type, before sending a long text into the void, downshift your system. Orienting name. 5 things you see, 3 sounds, 2 points of contact. Breath 4-4-6 and butterfly taps, cross-armed shoulder taps for 20s. Anchor line, this silence is a screen. I won't project an old movie onto it. As your body settles, the self returns to the driver's seat. The complex stops grabbing the wheel. Step 5, active imagination, meet the silent figure. Close your eyes. Personify the silence, maybe a gatekeeper, maybe a glass wall. Ask, what are you protecting? You might hear, I'm shielding them from shame, or I'm trying to make you disown yourself. Then invite your shadow. What does this gap touch in me? Naming it turns the weather into data. First, be fair. Silence isn't always malicious. It often shows up in 3 ways. 3 ready to send scripts. 1, call in, invite to dialogue, not reading minds, just noticing silence after X. If you need time, I'm holding a 11 Jahren and 4 Jahren tomorrow, which works. 2, time-bound boundary. If there's no response by Friday 5 p.m., I'll summarize the event, impact, need, request and share it in the group channel so work can continue. 3, escalate with care, formal but respectful. To avoid confusion, here's a 5-line summary: event, impact, need, request, timeline. Please correct anything inaccurate. Some silences are red lines, repeated, evasion role reversal. You are made the offender for naming harm or punitive quiet every time you set a boundary. Jung wouldn't ask you to interpret nicely so you can stay. He'd ask, what life does yourself want? If the answer is safety, clarity, reciprocity, then stepping out of chronic silence can be the most respectful move for both sides. Safety note, if you suspect ongoing psychological abuse, lean on support networks and qualified professionals. Education isn't a replacement for therapy. A subtle layer, your inner anima joins the scene. Under prolonged silence, an immature animus can become a prosecutor demanding instant verdicts. An immature anima can collapse into melodrama. We're inviting the mature pair. Animus sets structure, timelines, and channels. Anima keeps empathy's rhythm, first for yourself, then when appropriate for them. When these two stand together, persona can relax, shadow can breathe, and the self, the integrator, glows again. Pattern interrupt to carry. Silence doesn't define me. My response writes the story. Community Q comment, saw the silence. And share 1 sentence you'll try this week. Each week we'll compile 3 strong lines, anonymous, a silence matrix, message templates, and a 60-second regulation checklist. We're building a practice circle. Speak clearly without hardening your heart. And yes, sometimes even after all this, the response still isn't an apology. Why are apologies so hard? 2 small words, such heavy weight. In part 3, we'll look at persona and ego inflation, why owning harm can feel like a small big death to some egos, and how you can avoid getting pulled into that game. You'll learn to recognize a healthy apology and when it's time to turn away. Keep going. The light in the room is changing, and you'll know how to reset the switch. Regulating silence, nervous system overload. The other person steps back so things don't get worse. Complex-driven avoidance. A complex shame fear of being wrong flips the defense switch. Persona rushes in to keep the I'm fine mask on. Strategic silence withdrawal to keep control and push the emotional labor onto you. Naming the kind of silence helps you pick the right language. Don't rush to diagnose motives, but don't hand your self-worth to someone else's quiet. Why does silence destabilize us? Psychologically, a blank screen is the perfect surface for projection. With no data, we throw our shadow images onto it. They despise me. I'm the problem. I'm overreacting. Old complexes about being left or not enough flare up and push us to chase one more text, one more call, one more self-erasing compromise just to get a breadcrumb of response. Power grows in scarcity. The silent one holds what you're craving. Confirmation. So how do you step out of that orbit? Step 1. Name the silence. Use descriptive time-bound language. It calms the persona and ties you back to facts. Why I'm sorry is so hard. Persona, ego inflation, and the anatomy of a healthy apology. These aren't just bad manners. They're defenses that keep persona intact and shadow locked away. Why does apologizing trigger so hard? Because shame is wired to older root complexes, being mocked, scolded, humiliated. Once touched, the complex behaves like it has a life of its own. Most people didn't wake up plotting manipulation. They slide into the old sequence: deny, minimize, blame, go silent. And on the other side, in our pain, we can slide too into absolutizing, labeling, judging. Jung doesn't put us in a moral courtroom. He asks us to watch two shadows dancing. The healthy apology: 6 pieces that actually restore order. Name the event concrete, no spin. This morning in the meeting, I said, that was my idea. Own responsibility. First person, no outsourcing. That was my choice, not because of the team or stress. Mirror the impact, don't debate their experience. I see that erased your contribution and hurt you. Express real regret, no ifs, buts. I'm sorry I caused that. Repair, in the world, visible fix. I'll correct the recap and state clearly the idea is yours. Repattern, build a guardrail. Next week I'll say I'm adding to instead of I think when I use a colleague's idea. No demanding forgiveness. No forcing them to move on. No bargaining for comfort. Light on ego, heavy on practice. What if they can't or won't apologize? Jung points you back to the self, your inner coordinating center. You can't drag someone through the ego's little death if they're not willing, but you can give yourself what a good apology would have offered. Have you ever stood before a door that would open with just 2 words, I'm sorry, and somehow the door stayed shut? We like to think an apology is a simple moral action. Through Jung's lens, it's more complex. An apology touches the architecture of the ego itself, where the persona, the mask of a I'm good, right, in control, is guarding the front. The shadow, what we can't bear to see in ourselves, is gasping for air, and a shame complex can flip a switch in a single heartbeat. When ego inflation takes over, when the ego fuses with its good person image, admitting harm feels like a small death. Not everyone is ready to pass through that little death. Face the event, name what happened. Acknowledge the impact on you. Repair what's yours to repair, e.g., correct records, reset expectations. Reset your boundary, decide the terms of ongoing contact. That's how you reclaim power. A 3-minute sequence for the crossroads. Apologize, not apologize. Minute 1, body stand tall. Breathe 4, 4, 6. Hand on sternum. Whisper, I give shame a seat. Minute 2, 4 lines on paper. What happened? 2, impact on me/others. 3, what restores order. 4, 1 step I'll take regardless of whether they apologize. Minute 3, symbolic dialogue. Active imagination. Invite your mask keeper persona to speak. What are you protecting? Invite your repairer, mature, responsible part to answer. How do we fix this without humiliating you? When both are seen, you need less from outsiders to validate your truth. 3, ready-to-use lines. Keeps structure, keeps heart. In this morning's email, I attributed X to myself. That was wrong. I'm sorry. I erased your name and will resend with your authorship. I'm not arguing intentions. I'm confirming the impact and taking responsibility for my part. Meet Elena, a marketing manager in Seattle. In a meeting, she drops a snide remark that stings a colleague. That night, she intends to apologize, but a voice leaps up, I'm the considerate one. That's persona protecting the mirror. The shadow whispers, I was jealous she got praised. Between them sits shame, the feeling will do anything to dodge. Elena sends a half apology. Sorry if you felt hurt. I was only joking. It contains the word sorry, but it minimizes impact shifts, focus to her intention, and keeps the spotlight on her image. It's an apology in form, not in truth. If you're open, let's set a clear crediting rule going forward. If not, I'll adjust the recap so order is restored. When sorry becomes a cycle hurt, flimsy apology, repeat. Use the 4R gauge. Recognize names the event precisely. Regret, real remorse, no if, but. Repair, observable action to fix. Repattern evidence of changed behavior, at least 3 consistent repetitions over meaningful time. If any R is missing, the apology isn't complete. No arguing required, just measure, then set your boundary. Animus, anima, the inner allies of a good apology. Mature animus. Your inner structure so logic sets timelines, steps, and proof of repair. Mature anima, your inner relatedness, feeling keeps language human, so apology doesn't become a trial. When structure and compassion stand together, persona can relax, shadow can breathe, and the self can lead. From a Jungian view, not every sorry is healthy. Under inflation, apologies commonly slip in 5 ways. A real apology restores order. It doesn't protect a mask. Community Q comments saw the 6-piece structure and write 1 healthy apology line you'll try this week. We'll pick 3 great examples to share back with the circle. And then the bigger question, what's the cost of not apologizing for the one who refuses for you and for the relationship itself? When complexes and inflation drive too long, we don't just lose a conversation, we build a loop. Next, we'll map that loop, why some people repeat the pattern of harm, denial, faux apology, how you stop paying the price, and where the exit ramp is if you choose to step out. Keep going. Understanding the cost is the first step to stop paying with your peace. But if you felt hurt, I'm sorry, but I was just being honest. Passive voice, things were said that upset you. By whom? Victim swap, I was under so much pressure that I misspoke. Minimizing, it was just a joke. Forgiveness demand. I apologize, now can we move on? The cost of denial. Why the loop keeps returning and how to stop paying with your peace. One small action that keeps order, send a recap, state a descriptive sentence. Wait 24 hours before replying. Putting it on paper pulls you out of the old script and back into the present. Data is self-kindness. 2, the boundary ladder climb, don't leap. Don't jump from silence to a cutoff. Ascend deliberately. Rung 1, describe event, impact, need. Rung 2, add a time marker plus official channel group email meeting recap. Rung 3, structured distance, mute notifications, limit contact windows. Rung 4, exit, when the loop repeats 3 cycles in 90 days, despite clear invitations to repair. Each rung has a visible action, so you remember you're choosing, not stuck. 3, dialogue, with the loop, active imagination, personify the loop. A wheel, a rubber band, a revolving door. Ask it, what do you give me and what do you take? Often the answer is blunt. I give you familiarity. I take your time and self-respect. Then invite the self, the inner coordinator. What price do I choose to pay today? This won't change the other person. It steadies your axis. A small story, Noah in Austin loves like a lifeguard. His partner Lila is often late, goes silent, then offers a vague apology. Noah understands and stays. Until his body speaks, each weight tightens his gut. His chest feels like stone. He runs a 7-day audit and sees he's paying waiting fees with his health and creativity. He moves to rung 2. If you're more than 15 minutes late without a heads up, I'll leave the cafe and won't reschedule. Lila repeats the loop twice more. Noah takes rung 4. He leaves not from spite, but loyalty to the self. That week, he dreams of an empty chair in a round room filled with light. Jung would smile, the unconscious is compensating, inviting Noah to put the self back at the center. But what about hope? Can't people change? Hope is beautiful, but loops require evidence. Use the 4R gauge from earlier. Recognize names the event. Regret no ifs, buts. Repair visible fix. Repattern new behavior repeated. 3 times in similar moments. If you don't see repattern within 90 days, don't fund the future with your peace. Kindness to others shouldn't be purchased with the collapse of your boundaries. Here your mature animus anima are allies. Imagine an invisible ledger you carry everywhere. Each time they hurt you and then deny it, a number gets added to the cost column. A pinch of self-doubt, a thin slice of trust, one more moment you betray yourself just to keep the peace. At first the numbers are tiny, almost nothing. Over time the column swells, your body tires, your mind starts arguing on their behalf. Your heart curls in on itself. In Jung's view, this isn't just bad habits. It's a loop run by an autonomous complex. The unconscious compensates what we refuse to look at returns in similar situations, as if life keeps laying the same lesson before us until we're brave enough to see it. Animus lays structure, audits timelines the latter. Anima keeps humanity tenderness for the part in them that can't yet apologize, tenderness for the child in you who feared being left. When these walk side by side, persona loosens, shadow gets a chair, and the self can drive. That's the moment the loop loses momentum. And then the natural question, after I stop paying the price, where do I go? Next, we won't just say what not to do. We'll build the map forward, a 3-step plan to exit the old orbit and a 7-day toolkit to establish a life with order, warmth, and clarity, where you trust your memory, hold boundaries with a kind voice, and choose relationships that repair with you. Community Q, comment no more fees, and name one rung you'll climb this week. Then reply to the person above you with a single witnessing line, no fixing, I see you, this pace is enough. 2 questions to carry into the day. What price have I been paying to keep the peace? And what would genuine peace cost instead? Which single boundary, if honored, would make the rest easier? Slow the loop down and you'll recognize the rhythm hurt. Denial, silence, faux apology, minimizing. A few calm days. Small trigger hits the same nerve. Hurt again. Underneath their persona needs to preserve the image, I'm right, likable. Their shadow, shame, insecurity, ambition gets locked in the basement. Your shadow gets poked in its old fear, being left, being dismissed, so your complex flips the switch to chase, explain, over-justify, drop your boundary. Both parties get hooked. They dodge responsibility to save the mask. You scramble to save the bond. 2 shadows dance. The dance repeats. Your costs. First, cognitive, you live in maybe I'm too sensitive until the red light looks yellow, and then green. Next, body, mind, tight shoulders, knotted gut, shallow sleep, mental loops. Am I exaggerating? Then relational, you shrink to fit and ask for less credit, talk, less, dim your joys. Their costs, they lose the chance to grow, no training in responsibility or intimacy. They mistake surface calm for peace. The relationship's cost, trust becomes brittle. One touch and it shatters. Why is this loop so stubborn? Because a complex behaves like it has its own life. It's a subterranean river dam. It at the surface and it seeps through the bedrock. You vow this won't happen again, but when a situation rhymes closely enough, the reflex fires before your will can intervene. Jung called this the autonomy of the unconscious. To exit the loop, you need more than willpower. You need a map that walks through the unconscious where the languages are symbol, breath, and structure, not slogans. Here's a 3-part kit to break the loop. 1. Audit the ledger, 7-day reality check. For 7 days each time the loop stirs, write 3 lines. Event, just the fact, body impact, heart, shoulders, stomach. Exit the old orbit, 7 days to restore order. Feed the self and choose relationships that repair. Need what would restore order. 1. Micro action within 24 hours, send a recap note, minutes. Silence notifications for 2 hours. Read it out loud once. Anchor line. I describe, I don't judge. Writing reality on paper lowers persona's defense and lets the self step forward. Day 2. Guard practice, a compassionate, face the mirror, and rehearse these copy-paste lines, breathe 4-4-6 before each. I'm not able to take on more work while authorship is unclear. I'll circle back by 3 p.m. with a transparent plan. I'm available to talk when we both want to listen. If not, I'll summarize event, impact, need in the group email. I respect that you may need time. Please confirm a reply window before Friday 5 p.m. Boundary equals structure that love can travel on, not a wall. Day 3, grow, retrieve, projection, return things to their owners. Write 3 short lines. I flare up around the quality of haiku in them. A trace of that lives in me as warming. The window cracks open. Cool air slips in. Your phone stays quiet. Their reply doesn't come. 2 choices appear, stand guard outside someone else's door waiting, or walk back inside and rebuild your own house. Jung would invite the second, not forgetting, not retaliating, designing a rhythm where the self returns to the driver's seat, the persona stops bracing, the shadow gets a chair, and your inner animus and anima walk side by side. Today, I self-acknowledge by Tikani, e.g., correcting the recap filing contributions in the shared folder. When you proactively recognize your own gold and hunger, you stop demanding others compensate at any price. Your right to respect remains, only the chasing stops. Day 4, active imagination. Meet the mask keeper and the repairer. Close your eyes for 3 minutes. Invite the mask keeper in you or in them to sit across from you. What are you protecting? Invite the repairer, your mature part, to sit beside you. How do we restore order without humiliating anyone? Seen together, shame stops driving. Structure speaks up. Day 5, mature animus. The architect of structure draft a 7-line plan: 1, who's involved; 2, channel; 3, timeline; 4, evidence of repair; 5, success criteria; 6, next boundary rung if no progress; 7, review date. Mature animus isn't a prosecutor, it's a designer. With rails, the emotion train stays on track. Day 6, mature anima. Nourish connection and compassion. Give yourself 20 minutes of pure nourishment. Walk, warm shower music, screen-free meal. Write an unsent letter to your younger self: I know why you stayed so long. Self-compassion first lets you speak clearly without hardening your heart. That's the voice of a mature anima. Day 7, council of archetypes, self at the center. Imagine a circle: warrior, boundary, lover, bond; sage, clarity, mother, father, support; maiden, newness; queen, king, sovereignty. Give each one sentence about your week. Then invite the self to close. What do we choose for next week? Write 1 micro commitment and put it on your calendar. Pattern interrupts: small, steady, evidence-based. The 60-second regulator: use all week before you reply. Orienting: name 5 things you see, 3 sounds, 2 points of contact. Breathe 4-4-6 and do butterfly taps 20 seconds. Anchor line: I won't project an old movie on a silent screen. When regulation becomes a habit, complexes get fewer chances to grab the wheel. The self returns sooner. If they want to repair, measure, don't debate. Use 4R. Recognize, name the event. Regret, no ifs or buts. Repair, visible fix. Repattern, new behavior. Was 3 times in similar moments. If repattern doesn't show up in a meaningful window, e.g. within 90 days, the next boundary rung activates. Not punishment order. An order is the condition for durable kindness. Pattern interrupt. Healing isn't waiting on them. It's restoring order within you. Boundary ladder, so you climb, not lurch. Rung 1, describe event, impact, need. Rung 2, add time marker plus official channel group, email minutes. Rung 3, structured distance, mute, limited contact windows. Rung 4, exit after repeated loops despite clear invitations to repair. Each rung equals a visible act. You're not stuck, you're choosing. Closing the week and opening the season. With a 7-day map in hand, a quieter door opens. You place the crown in the center, not living by the mask of agreeable or unyielding, but by the self that knows when to speak, pause, repair, or leave. And above all, knows how to see both the light and the shadow within. From here, we'll wrap the journey with a simple Jungian image, bringing the shadow back into self's orbit, and a final invitation to keep walking this road, not just 7 days, but 7 seasons. Peace stops being luck. It becomes a skill you own. Community cue, comment ground. Guard. Grow and name 1 microstep you'll take today. Then reply to the person above you with 1 witnessing line. No fixing, I see you. This pace is enough. Pocket card for your weed. I describe, I don't judge. Structure lets care move. If there's no repattern, the next rung. The 3 core rails: ground, guard, grow ground, equals reality, anchors, descriptive language, data, the body. You're not waiting at someone else's door anymore. You're home, rebuilding rhythm by rhythm. Guard, boundaries, structure, time markers, clear channels. Grow equals development, retrieve, projections, symbolic, dialogue, mature, community. When these 3 move together, loops lose their pull. You have a road, a 7-day map. 1 small step per day, doable yet deep. Day 1, ground. Remap reality on 1 page. Draw 4 boxes and fill them in. Event, what happened, just the fact. Body impact, 3 sensations, e.g. chest, tight jaw, clamp, knot in gut. As we arrive at the final minutes, picture yourself back in the familiar room. No more arguing sides, no scoreboard, just you. Your breath in an empty chair at the center of the circle. Along this path, we've met three layers: the agreeable persona, the shadow, that had to shout to be heard, and the coordinating self, the place where things return to order. Maybe your inner dragon isn't roaring anymore. It's curled beside a small coin, the life force you reclaimed by daring to look. Jung would say when you sit at the center, the inner world no longer has to stage a drama to get your attention. If I could send you off with one quality, it would be gentle firmness. Healing isn't waiting for someone to hand you "I'm sorry," and it isn't a public sentencing. Healing is restoring order, so love has a road to travel. Describe events instead of judging motives. Set a boundary like a doorway with a handle, and let the self lead between two powers. Reason that gives structure and compassion that nourishes. From here, you only need one micro step a day, a clean 5-line email, one clear sentence, a minute of active imagination with the shadow. Small, steady, evidence-based. That's enough to shift your orbit. If today's story touched you, leave a single line below. What did I bring back to myself? Maybe it's time sleep or a laugh that no longer tiptoes. You can also write a 24-hour micro pledge. I'll send a 5-line recap. I'll practice one boundary sentence in the mirror, or I'll give shame a chair, then walk past it. When you write it down, you turn intention into order, the language the unconscious trusts. Stay with it as community, a place to practice speaking clearly without hardening the heart. Each week, we'll gather a few comments, anonymous, into useful lines and one-page practices, a pocket map for windy days. If Jung's work is meaningful to you, subscribe and tap the bell, not to chase numbers, but so when you need an anchor, we meet at the right time. Carry one image home, a mandala of light on a wooden floor. Each petal holds a part of you that was dim, anger that protects tenderness, that names wisdom that pauses. In the center sits the empty chair where the self is waiting. Tomorrow, if someone denies your reality or silence turns into a wall, remember, you don't have to smash the wall. You open a door. You don't have to shout. You call things by their right name. And if needed, you leave not as punishment, but as an act of loyalty to the self. A small safety note: if your story includes chronic psychological abuse, prioritize support networks and qualified professionals. This video is education, not therapy. Still, I trust this. Each of us has the right to become ourselves, and you're taking those first steps soft and steady. If you're willing, add one more line in the comments. My central chair today is, I'll read them like small candles. See you in the next video, where we continue the conversation with the deepest part of you. Thank you for staying to the end. Peace isn't luck anymore, it's a skill you're learning.